Welcome to the No Streetlights podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Tim. We'll be engaging in vulnerable conversations every Friday to shine a light on what we've been through,
How it changed us, and what we learned. We want to encourage societal growth towards kindness through understanding.
These conversations and the associated language can be triggering.
Listen at your own discretion.
But please reach out if we need to be doing something better.
So, let's take a breath, relax, and be welcome.
So, Aaron, we are currently 18-ish minutes into our recording, and we've already had a hell of a conversation. But for the audience's sake, I think we need to introduce who we have here today.
I couldn't agree with you more. Our wives brought us a wonderful woman who's doing incredible works in the realm of mental health and podcasting. So, Alexa, if you don't mind, we would love to provide you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Alexa Brehmer. I have a podcast called the You're Not Fucked podcast, and it stems from my own journey with overcoming addiction, mental health, and trauma. And I really like to provide my journey, my experience, as well as having guests to show other people that they're not alone, that it's possible to get better. I obviously can't relate to every single person on the planet, but I do know there are people who experience or have experienced very similar things to me as me. And one thing that got me through was hearing other people's journeys, whether it was reading a book or a podcast. And for a long time, I wanted to share it, but I got nervous. And there's that stigma, oh, you just want attention if you're sharing these kind of parts of you online. And I finally got over that, started the podcast about 2 years ago. It's been a little bit slow just because I've had to overcome a lot of anxiety, fears, and doubts, and I'm finally starting to make momentum. It is so cool to me that your guys' wives sent you my podcast. That's just shout out to them because that made my day. That was so cool hearing that someone enjoyed my podcast so much that they sent it to someone else, and then you guys enjoyed it so much you wanted to have me on here. So that's incredible. And I feel like we are doing similar work where we're sharing these vulnerable parts of ourselves, but also the hope that can come with being vulnerable as well.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely incredible. I've listened to your podcast now, and I love the way that you present the material. I feel like I'm listening to a friend the entire time. Granted, now I've had the opportunity to have 2 great conversations with you, so I am very comfortable enough to say that you are my friend. But, you know, when I was listening to your podcast before we ever got the chance to talk, I was like, oh, man, I feel like I'm just chilling with a buddy and just listening to, like, why am I not fucked? This is great.
Yeah. I was confused whenever you introduce yourself because you left out your middle name, and I've never heard you introduce yourself without your middle name.
Like Alexa Fxcking Brehmer?
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
that's how I hear you every time.
Every single time.
Alexa.
I went to go introduce myself like that just now and I got nervous. That was the anxiety. And now I still have this part of me that tries to like water myself down. So I actually really appreciate you called me out because, yeah, it's Alexa Fxcking Brehmer and I host the You're Not Fucked podcast.
Hell yes. Welcome
Hell yeah.
to No Streetlights podcast, where we encourage you to be your own motherfucking light.
Love it.
One thing that I love too, like you are, did you just put out your 51st episode? How many episodes deep are you now?
52, I think.
52.
52?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a couple episodes ahead of us at this point, but like, a couple, you're actually like almost double us. But but I was talking to Aaron about your podcast after our brainstorm last Sunday. And I was like, it's absolutely insane, right? Because it's like well, first of all, we're 3 completely different people, but we're 2 different entities, right? No Streetlights and You're Not Fucked. And we are on the same path. We have no idea, like we didn't know anything about each other. We're just on the same path, and we've always come to the same conclusion, right? And I absolutely love that. Completely different walks of life. I am halfway around the world from where you are, and I find that phenomenal.
I think that's incredible as well. I was listening to your episode. I think it was with your wife, Tim, Brittany. That's your wife? Yeah, I was listening to that episode before I got on here, and it just resonated so much. And I felt the same way. I was like, man, I don't even know these people, but it feels like we've gone through such similar things in totally different ways, but like you said, come to the same conclusion. I think that is pretty magical.
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with like it's funny, right? Because the same conclusion that we're talking about here is like learning to love yourself, right? Learning to forgive
Yeah.
yourself and just like being compassionate and trying to be the best possible person you can be. Just do no harm and love yourself. And like we may have different ways of going about it, I'm sure. Aaron probably does all kinds of different meditations and contemplations and reads and things that I don't do.
I can read.
I just go for a run, and Aaron gets into bike accidents.
Oh, God.
But you know, we all come to the same conclusion, right? We are focusing on bettering ourselves, and to do that, we have to love ourselves.
Yes. And I really want to touch on something you said too that I think is really, really important to emphasize is you're saying how all three of us can do something different but come to the same conclusion of self-love, self-acceptance. And I think it is so important to break the stigma that I'm seeing of spirituality and even mental health that you have to do it a certain way. You have to meditate, you have to read books, you have to, I mean, I personally love all that, but I also learned that if I try to force myself to do that all the time, I was still coming from a place that wasn't self love because I needed to show myself that, you know what, I can miss a meditation and I still love myself, that I'm still worthy of showing myself compassion and having a great day. So, like you said, you don't have to fit into a box to have that self love and self acceptance. And that's what it's based in is yourself. You don't have to be like anyone else to accept yourself.
Absolutely. And that I think even extends to something like, don't get me wrong, I think therapy, counseling, those are great tools, but they're not for everybody, right? If that is the path that you want to take, absolutely explore that. Medication. A lot of people are terrified about taking medication. I went the medication route and I feel a million times better. But don't put yourself in a box. Do what you think you need in order to love yourself and help yourself.
And I know, Alexa, on your podcast a lot here lately, you have been talking about recognizing what season you're in and respecting that. And that's something that you just said that resonated with me is you can't just always be attack, 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 attack. That will wear you out to the bone, man. Trust us, we've tried. Every single person on earth has had a season where they tried bashing their head against a tree before realizing that they could just ask someone for a fucking hatchet.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling that story, and I'm excited for people, our classroom to go over into your classroom when they have time to hear that, like, it's okay for it to be winter. Winter's still great, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of it is that when you really start to accept yourself, you accept those different seasons because there is so much magic in each different season. You learn so much about yourself. Sometimes it is a season to really be alone and contemplate. Sometimes it's a season to be around other people and in your community. And sometimes it's both. And it's just absolutely brilliant to be able to learn about yourself through those experiences instead of, like you said, trying to fit yourself in a box and bash your head, trying to attack, 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 and do the same thing because that's what worked before. That's what you're taught that's supposed to work. And it's just letting go of that and being like, oh, hey, I can actually pick up this tool and let it help me instead of like wandering around aimlessly in the jungle getting attacked.
And one of the stories that we've been trying to tell and that we've had the opportunity to be able to repeat multiple times at this point, but like Chaz has said it, Melissa has said it, our friend Pookie has even gotten the chance to say it, and we just recently recorded with another friend of ours named Bose who was able to tell the same story. Break those generational traumas. Stop the cycle. Don't go in a circle, right? Because like that's what we were taught when we were younger. You just keep bashing your head and eventually you're going to figure it out. But we've been taught growing up that you just face the problems the same way that your parents, your grandparents, and the generations before that face it. And a lot of the times they did it the hard way and they did it without really caring about themselves too much in the process. But we're not about that life no more. We're over this stupid, like we were talking about earlier, the hustle culture. Break that. What the fuck is up with that? not talking about your problems, keeping everything bottled up inside, and then never learning how to regulate your emotions, so you yell at your children and hit them with a belt if they misbehave. What the hell, man? That's just not it. That's not it no more. People talking about this generation's soft. This generation's stronger than the previous generations. We're willing to look at ourselves and be like, what the fuck is happening here, man? And you couldn't do that. The people who are calling everybody snowflakes, the people who are calling people woke culture and all this other bullshit that they're floating around on the internet, they're making fun of them because, and as we talked about earlier, because they realize that they've been doing something wrong the entire time. These people are doing something different. They're not doing it the same way as me, and they're scared of that. Why?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that too. And it's really like funny in a not funny way seeing people call other people snowflakes because they're actually willing to talk about their feelings and learn to regulate their emotions instead of physically take it out on like children. Like teachers used to do that too. Like my dad experienced that where he used to get hit with a belt or a ruler at school. And it's just absolutely insane that people think that us wanting to actually regulate those emotions is soft. Like that's what will create a better community where we all have deeper connection and can actually communicate about the conflicts. Because hitting doesn't make the conflict goes away. It makes people scared. It makes people push it down. And that's why so many people have anger issues too. It's because they have so much pushed down, they don't know what to do with it. And our bodies can only hold so much. At some point, that's going to erupt. And sometimes it's over and over and over. And it's important to talk about these kind of things so that people can learn that there is a different way, that there is an in between of like, oh, being so soft you can't handle anything, but also being so hard that you don't handle anything, because they're both two extremes of the same pole where you're not emotionally regulating.
Yeah. We, damn, it's hard to put into words. I'm so sorry. I keep getting really close to it. Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, I've got it. I fucking got it. We were fed gravel, so we are tough. But we are so strong that we realize we should not feed our children gravel. We should maybe look at the home that our parents built, which, thank you, excellent work. I recognize that doing 40 hours a week for 50 years sucked. I don't want to do that. You built the house. I'm going to take the gravel that you compiled for me, and I'm going to build dry creek beds to solve the drainage issues on our property. I'm going to plant vegetables in a garden so my kids don't have to go to work 40 hours a week. And that's where the rub is between the two generations, is we're saying we want to do it different, and they feel like that's an attack. They say, oh, what I did isn't good enough. No, you did great, but I recognize your scars. I've got half of them myself, but I don't plan on the next half of my life having those same scars. I'm going to change the reality that I live in so that that doesn't happen to the next person.
I really feel like it's easy to hit something, you know?
Oh, dude. So I've hit so many things. I've got a punching bag.
Yeah. I feel like I think about it, right? And I get angry, and I feel like it's just so easy to punch a wall or punch a pillow or punch a couch. You know what's fucking hard? Not doing that.
Yeah.
That's because it's falling.
Yeah.
Emotions happen midbrain. It is so easy to fall back into your survival brain and just hit.
Mm-hmm.
But having to crawl forward into your forebrain, like Chaz says, use the skill of composure, respond, don't react. That's fucking work.
Yeah.
But we're realizing, thank you, Alexa, for your 52 episodes so far, talking about how that's work worth fucking doing. Don't just hit. Take a breath and say, is it right to hit? Or am I dealing with some shit?
And if it's really hard to do that, because it is going to be really hard, especially if you're not accustomed to doing that, well, guess what? You're not fucked. Because you can learn how to do it. Call back. Shout out.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. No, you're not fucked. Your brain is actually working perfectly for the programming you receive because our brains are like computers, but it's time to learn a new program. And that's why I think all of us touch on that self-love and that self-acceptance because yeah, you could hit like that's a program you have literally wired in your brain, in your synapses, but it doesn't have to be like that. And it does. It takes work. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, but it is so worth it. And you get to a point where you're putting in all this hard work and it pays off because it doesn't have to be this hard forever either. It's why you do it now. And that's why I think it's so important to tell people that they're not fucked. Your brain is working so brilliantly. You just need a different program. It's like a computer.
No, you're good. If you still had more to say.
I just want to touch on the fact that when I actually started my podcast, for some reason, I thought it would be orientated towards women and not even just that, not that that was just my intention. I just, for some reason, thought that my podcast was not going to resonate with men. And I've actually had way more men reach out to me and thank me for my podcast. And it's really gotten me to want to orientate my podcast to a lot more men's mental health and the business that I'm starting as well too, like coaching and stuff. I thought it was going to be for women. I actually really I'm going to do women and men, but I want to make sure that I'm intentionally putting content out there that is for men too, because I think there's a lot less help for you guys. I think that you guys have been the number one target of push your emotions down. And I think that's why a lot of men struggle with anger issues. Not that women don't, but a lot more men, in my opinion, from the studies I've read, struggle with that anger. And so I think it's really awesome that you guys wanted me on your podcast and you guys are two strong men, in my opinion. I just think that that reassures me that yes, my message can help men too. So thank you for that.
I found it really fascinating because Aaron and I have been keeping a very close eye on our analytics. You know, we're a small podcast. It's really important to us. Our audience is actually almost perfectly split between men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And the shocking thing to me about that was our podcast is hosted by two males. I felt like a lot of women probably wouldn't be too interested in what we said, or at least, you know, they wouldn't really think about it. But honestly, I'm so glad that our message is reaching both sides. And that's incredible. And I'm really glad about your message as well, because I don't know. Like I said, when I was listening to your podcast, I felt comfortable. I enjoyed it. I felt like I was just listening to a friend tell me about a story or something that they had going on and how they faced it. And I loved that.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. I will never ever get sick of hearing that my messages are actually helping someone or resonating or making them feel comfortable. So thank you for sharing that with me, Tim.
Our biggest contributor is a woman. We have invested 4 figures in our business and we have received a 10% return. And by that, I mean, we've received $200 and we've invested $2,000 of our money.
Yeah, about that.
But the person who's provided me with the most fire has been a woman. They said, I resented a male or men of this particular type for these reasons. And listening to your podcast, I see why they are the way they are. I've started to understand that there are all these pressures saying, you have to be this, you got to do this. And I just want this person in my life to fucking relax. And of course, this person who was fed gravel and taught to feed the next generation gravel is like, I can't let go. Why? Well, what happens if I let go? Nothing. Well, I don't know that for sure. Fuck. Like, dude, none of us have a grip on this shit. Just let it be. And I do want to interview you a little bit, Alexa, since this is your episode. I've got a lot of truths, and we'll probably have to have a spin-off show where it's like the three of us just talking about like shit that we for sure have figured out. But I messed up the most today on time, because to me, time's not real. I don't care. You guys know how I philosophize and shit. And I'm talking to the whole class here. And so,
get Dr. Ben back on here again. Time's not real.
Something you guys have heard, and I should know better in my heart, Tim has some anxiety. So a couple times today, Tim has been like, hey man, what time? We still good? What's up? Like, hey, just touching base. Are we still? And to me, who's totally chill, I'm not holding on to stuff. I was like, did something happen? Like, I thought we were all good. Is it now or later? Like, what time even is it? What the... So I reached out to Alexa and was like, hey, I know we talked about doing it earlier, but like, did we ever confirm that? Because Tim needs it to be earlier. And Alexa was like, dude, I can like wash my face and jump on. And I was like, dude, it's been an hour. I already freaked out with Tim. I'm sorry. Like, that's on me. I perceived there was some emergency going on. And it turns out Tim's just nervous sometimes. So he was like, hey man, we still good? And coming from my traumatic background, I was like, something must be happening for sure. Like, so Alexa, something I didn't know until we were planning for this is that you're up in Canada, apparently. Like,
I am.
So
like
tell us,
far north.
Can we hear a little bit about, like, we've heard your story, but can you tell a little bit of your story to kind of, again, introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I wrote a little bit of it out because there's so much with it. Like, holy shit, this could be like a long book. So I'm trying to figure out how to condense it. But I came from quite a traumatic background. I experienced both being quite poor, but also not. Like, it came and went, especially as like my parents divorced when I was 12. We struggled with money a little bit before that, and then they got a really big house, and I think they just saw everyone else doing that, and then that made everything a lot worse. And then they got divorced, and I ended up living with like one of my mom's friends, and then my auntie, and then my dad moved away, moved back. Like, there was a lot that happened. My life was very unstable. Both my parents struggled with substance abuse problems, and so did a lot of my extended family that we saw a lot. So there was a lot of nights where I was very young and everyone was up drinking, and it was very, very uncomfortable. Both my siblings also struggled with substance abuse. A lot of it for my family was alcohol. That was the main thing, but there was also a lot of drugs involved. And my brother, for most of my life, struggled with drugs as well too. And unfortunately, he actually OD'd back in October. And I found a lot of peace in that because he's lived on the street for over 10 years, and it's just very relieving to know that I don't have to worry about him because it's like -50 here in the winter sometimes. I don't know what that'd be in Fahrenheit. I know eventually Fahrenheit like equals out to Celsius, so it might actually be 15 Fahrenheit, but I'm talking in Celsius for anyone listening. So it's very cold.
-15?
50, like 50.
Oh yeah, no, -40 is the crossover point. So after -40, it's just...
It's cold. It's very fucking cold.
It doesn't fucking
Very
matter
cold.
anymore. If you pour water out, it will freeze in the air before it hits the fucking ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you put a negative in front of it, it's fine. We get it. It's bad.
Go inside.
Yes, literally. Like, the air hurts your face. It's terrible. And it's crazy because we're all still expected to work and do everything as normal, and our cars aren't working. But anyways, back to the main story. I won't go on that tangent this time. So for most of my life, I lived with my family, and they all struggled. I'm the youngest of my siblings, and they all struggled with a lot of substance abuse problems. I was quite aware for being a child. It was insane. I actually tried to talk to my parents about it one time, and I'm not shitting on them. I do understand that, again, they were passed down these kind of traumas, but I also really went a long time understanding everyone else and not understanding my own pain. And so it's important to me to recognize that I can understand what they went through, but my experience is still valid. And the fact that when I was a kid, I told my parents, like, what you're doing makes me feel unsafe. Like, I'm scared. Like, there's a lot of things that happened with my brother. Like, he was on drugs. He tried to burn our house down one time. I got dragged out in the middle of the night, like things like that. And no one explained to me the difference between drugs and alcohol. So I knew that my brother was on drugs, and I thought it was the same as drinking. So to see my parents drink all the time and my extended family was very scary because I thought that was going to happen. And I don't think my parents understood what trauma was. It was just kind of, suck it up, you're fine. Our lives are more stressful, you're a child kind of thing. So when I told them that I didn't feel safe, they literally laughed in my face and told me that I don't understand what it's like to be an adult and have stresses, and that it's none of my business what they're doing. And so I learned that, oh, I can't speak up. I can't tell them how I'm feeling because I get in trouble for it. So I learned very quickly to put everything down and to always turn the other cheek, be the bigger person. And even though my siblings were older, my parents knew that my maturity levels were quite high. And so if they ever did something to me that I wanted to talk about, they're like, but you know better, so they can get away with it, but you can't because you know better. Just deal with it, suck it up, be nice. And that was definitely really hard. And even until like I was a teenager, like I had family struggling with that kind of stuff. And this whole time I thought it was me. And this is where my podcast stems from later, is that my brain would tell me that I'm fucked, that these people are treating me poorly and it's my fault because I'm not being nice enough. I'm not being grateful. I'm not understanding them. And it was always, how can I make myself better so other people treat me better? Because I don't think as a child I could really deal with the fact that these people, my family, people that are supposed to love me, are treating me so terribly. And when I was in grade 8, I got sexually assaulted, and my parents mainly blamed me. The cops got involved. I'm not going to go into too many details, but that's where like the counseling started. So I think I was around 12 when I finally got into counseling, and I'm actually very thankful all that happened because it led to this really deep embodiment of wanting to improve myself. And so I started at 12, and I've been in the self-development world for like over 10 years, 25 now. And later in life, like a lot more happened. I'm not going to get into all the details, but eventually like I got into drugs because I just couldn't cope. I was still living with abuse at my home, not physical abuse, but it was a lot of mental and emotional abuse. And I never physically got hurt, but like people used to throw objects and break them. So it was still quite scary physically because, especially when you're young, it's like, oh, are they ever going to hurt me? And it was hard for me to see that they were the problem. I kept thinking it was me. And so I really struggled. I did drugs, so I hated myself. I was like, why do I get mad at these people? Why do I react? And I even had counselors that told me, like, hey, you're living in a very unhealthy environment. You're doing the best you can. It's these people who are not meeting you because they also have to do the work and they're not. You're trying to do it for all of you, and that's just not possible. And I got into drugs. I did psychedelics for a year straight, like every single week, sometimes multiple times a week for a year straight. And I didn't realize it was a problem because everyone's like, you can't be addicted to psychedelics. That's not possible. You can be addicted to anything. And I wanted to go get myself help because I finally realized, like, hey, this is a problem. I was under 18. My parents wouldn't sign for me to go to the detox center. My dad said, and I really don't think he was joking, he said that he'll just lock me in my room for 2 weeks, that I don't need to get help. And eventually I had to go to my mom and tell her, like, it's not just weed I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with a lot of other things. And she finally signed for me. And I went twice that year to the detox center. And I relapsed after that. And it took me another like 6 months to a year to actually get clean off of all that stuff. But I did eventually do it. And then after that, like I stopped the binge drinking, and there's there's so much. I'm almost near the end. There's seriously so much. And it was just hard because I didn't have the proper support because everyone was used to me just having my shit together. And it's like when I didn't, they couldn't handle that because that's not what they were used to. And they're like, but you always have your shit together. It must not be that bad. And when I was 18, 19, I actually got sexually assaulted again. And so I started blacking out drinking again, and eventually, worked through that, cut out the alcohol, and all of this too. I had like an eating disorder during all of this. I was diagnosed with BPD when I was 17, general GAD.
Yeah, generalized anxiety disorder.
Disorder, yeah, and depression and PTSD. And I'm finally at a point where I've done so much work. I'm not smoking weed all the time. I'm almost at 2 months without it, which is something I personally wanted. I don't, especially Aaron, I don't shit on anyone that wants to do it, but for
excellent
me
work.
in my life,
Yeah.
thank you.
I can't wait till I'm there, man.
It's something I never thought was possible because I needed it to cope. And I don't have an eating disorder anymore. My BPD is very well managed. I don't have episodes all the time. I also used to have panic attacks 24/7. My parents used to yell at me for them because they didn't understand. That's basically the gist of it without going too far into all the details. It was a lot of shit.
Yeah, that's a lot that went on. I'm really sorry about all of that. I mean, Aaron and I have talked a lot about looking at things as an opportunity, and I'm so happy to hear that you said that you took what happened to you and turned that into an opportunity to better yourself. And it's very difficult, especially since it sounds to me like you were in survival mode since you were like 5.
Existing since you were conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also makes sense that at a certain point it becomes too much and you start doing the things that you've seen go on in your life, the alcohol, the
The
substance abuse.
escapisms. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're looking for a way to not have to be in survival mode but you're not doing it the proper way, right? But you don't know that. It's just God, that's so much going on. And I'm so glad that you are out there telling your story because you know how many people have gone through the exact same things as you? Substance abuse, grew up in an awful family environment, have been in survival mode since the moment that the light touched their skin, sexual assault and alcohol. Like, hell, I had an alcohol abuse issue. And I mean, it just resonates with me. It resonates with a lot of people. And you're doing incredible work.
Thank you.
What I heard during this abridged telling was reality is in your mind, but it's not your fault. But you have the opportunity, as Tim might say, to take this responsibility on. If you don't like how it is, guess what? You're the champion of right now. So you get to choose what this next second looks like because reality is in your mind. So if you choose that everything is going to be peace and love and I'm just going to support everyone around me and everyone around me is going to support me, you can make that happen. But like we talked about in the brainstorm sesh, you can't just manifest it. You gotta fucking manifest it. It's work.
Yeah, don't cast a spell.
Yeah.
Fucking live it.
And I would definitely like to say I'm a big fan of keeping both ideas present, is that reality is in your mind, but also to definitely see the objective reality. And at some point, if your efforts aren't producing a certain result, like you have to look at why. Because I did try and be the peacekeeper. I tried to support everyone, and that only made me worse because it actually amplified their abuse. They realized that they could get away with it, and I wasn't even going to do anything. I was going to support them. And so they got away with thinking they could do whatever and it never mattered because Alexa would always be there. And so if reality is in my mind, in one way, it wasn't going how I wanted. So I actually had to see the objective reality too, but then still make that choice because it's my responsibility. And there was a time where I cut off my family for a while too. And I felt so much better and it brought so much clarity. And I was like, whoa, I'm not fucked. Whoa, I've just been living with abuse my whole life. That's the only thing I know. Like, I was finally around people who loved me for me that didn't ever want me to change. And I was like, oh my God, I actually am I'm awesome. Like, I'm a great person. And so I think there's a mix of that, like with manifestation is both the what is it called? Like surrender and willful surrender. Because I don't think we can completely control reality to a certain extent. I think there's a higher energy that some things are beyond our control, but that radical responsibility is our actions are always in our control. And sometimes that even means that, hey, I reacted in a way that didn't feel like it was in my control. What can I do about it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that we've been talking about and kind of been touching on, I think, in this season was picking your community or choosing your community. Because, like, we're really big on the idea of, like, you need your community. It takes a village. And without the people around you, like, you're never going to be able to figure out some. If you've never filed taxes before and you don't have a friend who's helping you figure out how to file taxes, you need to find somebody who's going to help you figure it out. That person, whoever it's going to be, right? You need the help. And kind of what I'm hearing from your story here, like you had to cut out your family at one point to realize that they were bringing your community down. And it's really important to understand that because once you cut that out, you had the love, the support, and everything that you needed in order to realize you're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I do have some interpretations here. And that is, you might be a peacekeeper. that can be who you are. But some people don't need a peacekeeper. Some people need a drill sergeant. Some people need someone who's going to kick their fucking ass. Tim is going to run an interview or interrogation in a completely different way than I am, and both could bear fruit. But you have to love the orange as much as you love the lemon. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm glad that you had the presence of mind to step back and say, yes, I am pseudo-Stockholmed. I've been abused my entire life. I've been told that these are the people who I have to be with, but that's not right for me. I've got to go do some other shit because I can't do this. This isn't Alexa Fxcking Brehmer. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm awful with names.
Brehmer, but you're close.
I'm always fucking close. So, anyway, you can only reach someone where they are. I just watched the Mother Teresa documentary, and Jesus told her, you have to go into the poorest slums, because that's who I need you to reach, because what you do to the least of my brethren, you do to me. She was like, damn, I know I promised I'd do anything, but that's my job. And he was like, yeah, bro, sorry. So you can't go into environment and kill hate with hate. You've got to go learn love wherever fucking love is, and then hopefully you learn enough love to come beat that hate.
Big fucking facts.
Yes, absolutely. And I do want to say too that love isn't always like this love and light that's preached. Like sometimes love is realizing I love you, but I need to take a step back because that's what's best for our relationship. That's what's best for you, is to realize that your behavior is not acceptable and I'm putting that boundary up, and you have the opportunity then to reflect on that. Like love doesn't always have to be that you're giving all of yourself to someone that is only using and abusing it. Like love can come in many forms, but that is true, like unconditional love is that, hey, I really, really want you to do better, but what I'm doing is not helping you.
One thing I super want to touch on that we've been talking about a lot, but it bears reiterating until everyone knows it in their heart, until I don't have to say the words anymore. It's only love if you're giving it away. That's a truth that I'm seeing that I need to be preaching, is if there are conditions, that's a deal. And you got to think long and hard about deals. If it's truly given away, if you need it, fucking take it, dude. I recently, sort of unwillingly, got off Prozac. That's a long story, but I'm off Prozac now. And that's okay, because I am in a place now where I don't need the store-bought serotonin. And if I go dark again, and I spend a week or two in bed and don't feel like getting up and even making food, guess what? I'm going to call my doc and they're going to ship me some fucking store-bought serotonin. Yes, we can step back, see what's going on objectively, and you're absolutely right, Alexa. In the objective reality that I've been taught and know how to express in words, there's wrathful and compassionate. They both have their uses. Sometimes you need tough love, and sometimes you need someone who's willing to sit there and be quiet and listen, and a lot of people aren't comfortable being both. They're comfortable being one or the other. And whenever we're taking the time to breathe and meditate and be present, and we're reflecting people's humanity, we realize what they need because they feed it to themselves. There was a dude yelling as he left the store, and I had my hands behind my back because I identify as a holy person and I'm trying to like not harm people and do anything. I want to reflect what's going on so that everyone sees like who they are. And this dude's freaking out, and I'm just smiling because I love reality. And I was hoping he would yell at me so I could be like, what's going on, brother? How can I help you? What's wrong? And we like weaved through the cars and stuff, and then he went over here and I went to my car, and he started yelling about this blah, blah, blah is following me through the parking lot and blah, blah, blah. And I'm standing at my car, and I like unlock the car, and I show him the spray paint can that was behind my back because I just spray painted my fucking luggage because we're going to Japan. And if I'm not representing my shit that fucking hard, why the fuck would you buy my t-shirt? And then I was like, I actually got a thing, and this is my car. And then he got the fuck in his car because he was with people, and he was like, wow, I feel very silly. Because that was a silly thing to do. But guess what? I've been silly too, so I don't fucking hate him. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a monologue.
No, thank you for that story.
I hope that guy
Dude,
was
if
okay.
you need something,
I mean,
he should
Yeah.
stop by, for real.
Find out who he is, bring him on the podcast. We'll talk to him and
Yeah.
figure out what the fuck happened, man.
Well, he's
Like,
me,
what
and you're
was
him.
going on?
Alexa's him.
Yeah.
We just have to yell.
These are the conversations. Yeah.
I want to know what was going on.
I think they didn't
Right?
have his cigarettes.
Figure
He
out.
smoked his girlfriend's cigarettes, so he really needed to replace her cigarettes. And he found like $5 credit to buy her cigarettes, and they only had expensive cigarettes. And so she was like kind of catty
a shame.
complaining behind him. And he was like screaming about how they didn't have his shit or like they didn't take his gift card. And I was like, damn, man, that sucks. And if he was like, hey, can you go buy me cigarettes because I owe my girlfriend cigarettes? I would have been like, probably. Let me check my account. Like I might have $5, bro.
Maybe I might have the money. I don't
gave
know.
my last
It's
20 to
possible.
like 3 homeless people buying a couple pizzas. Like I might have money, bro. Like let me check.
You might be better off not buying him the cigarettes.
I've
but,
got some weed if you want to take a
pers-
fucking hit. It sounds like you can take a fucking. I'm gonna reach for my bowl slowly.
This will help you.
You're not
lot
driving,
more, my
right?
guy.
Okay. She's
Calm me
driving.
down.
Oh, your license is revoked. No, I see that. I see that your license is fucking revoked.
Yeah. I get.
Thank
I get
God.
That. I get that. Wow.
Do you need me? I'll drive you somewhere. I'm retired. I don't give a fuck. Shit. I'd lend you my bike, but it's in pieces
Whatever,
because the
man.
Hulk got my ass.
Okay, so I'm looking at our notes here, and I see that we have something that says, "Why did they sacrifice virgins?" And I'm like, "How the fuck did that tie into our conversation?" Why did they sacrifice virgins, Alexa? Thoughts, please.
Hold on, Tim. Where are
Oh God.
we? What line
I'm
are we at?
interviewing you.
Hold on. I can.
Fucking. Why did they sacrifice virgins, Aaron? It's right.
I mean, is it the page split?
it's underneath. Do something, asshole.
Profit versus parasympathetic. Oh, don't cast a spell. Fucking live different. Do something, asshole.
Diving,
yeah,
in
diving
ass
in first
and
is something
then-
you said about like people going in half cocked, and then we talked about.
Yeah. Don't do something half-assed. Always
Oh.
do it whole-assed. if
And
you're
then
gonna do
is that
anything.
an original thought, or are you just parroting shit? And then why did they sacrifice virgins? So as we attain more knowledge, we have to look at why we did something, and if that's no longer serving us, we have to let it go. So they were.
Aaron, I was asking Alexa.
Oh,
to
sorry, I
answer
was
the
just giving
question.
context. Do you want to talk about them sacrificing virgins and how we don't do that? Sorry, go ahead. I'm gonna go smoke some pot.
I'm kind of. No, I'm glad.
Hell yeah.
I'm definitely glad you gave a little bit of context because I was like, man, like I've kind of thought about that. I took it very literally, and I was like, why do
Yeah.
they?
What the fuck happened here?
I was like, that's an interesting thing to bring up. Totally random, but I'm here for it. But no, that when you gave the context, that makes a little bit more sense because I was going to go into like, well, energy. I don't know if they're going off like trying to get pure energy or if it was a control thing. But if it's a context like what Aaron said, something that's no longer working for us.
Yeah, sorry, these are my notes, so they will make no sense to anyone else.
No. We've determined Aaron is crazy, right? Like there's no question, if, ands, or buts about that. Aaron is absolutely
Somebody
insane.
get me a typewriter.
It's just, man, it is just so much fun watching him do this shit.
Somebody send my ass a typewriter. I'm telling you.
I will buy you one of the old school typewriters.
I'll just live stream all day.
Yes, please do. That would actually, I would watch
Just me
that.
having revelations and smoking pot. Like,
Yeah.
The
I know you don't
epiphanies.
have time to be retired, so just listen to me freak out about the nature of reality.
Dude, you can Twitch stream that for like 20 hours a day. People will
Go to our
fucking pay
Patreon
you.
if you want that
All right,
idea,
but-
because nobody's supporting our Patreon. If you want to support our ideas, go to fucking Patreon.
Yeah, go to fucking Patreon, and Aaron will live stream him typing epiphanies on a
Yeah.
fucking typewriter. Alexa,
That sounded like a command. Like, he used to-
Alexa.
Alexa, play "Tie Me Down." Why that song? I don't know. It's Aaron's favorite. He loves that song.
I don't know. He listens to that shit. So, with your podcast, right? The original thought thing kind of came to my mind. What feedback have you been receiving from your podcast? Like, what message have people been hearing that has been resonating with them that you, I don't know, surprised you? Like something that you didn't think, an unexpected outcome beyond men listening to your podcast.
Can I specify this question? I think I might be able to narrow it down.
Yes.
Sure.
I lost it. Go ahead.
All right.
I'm so close. Go, Alexa.
Oh, fuck.
You're in the wrong density, my guy.
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong membrane. Like, that's why
A different plane, different wave. Oh.
It's a general fucking question, but you answer it however you feel like. I'll accept whatever you tell me. This is your episode.
Oh, well, thank you. I think one of the most surprising messages I got was from someone that I knew, and she told me that there's two things that surprised me about it, because this was very, very early on too, when I was still quite nervous doing it and not being quite as outspoken, I would say. She said that she would put my podcast on while they worked so that her and her coworker could listen to it together. And her coworker was always asking her, when is she releasing the next episode? When is she releasing the next one? And like was obsessed with my podcast. And I was like, these are two people at work right now doing their job, thinking that I'm entertaining enough or resonate enough with my episodes to actually put it on for their days of work. Like that is incredible. And she also said that she started crying at work as well too because of one of my episodes, because of how deeply it resonated with her. And that just blew my mind. Like with that together at work, her crying over it, I was like, holy fuck, I thought that episode sucked. Like I thought that was a terrible episode. I almost didn't release it. And then the fact that that was the feedback I got from it was phenomenal. And that actually keeps happening to me. I'll beat myself up, and now I have better coping mechanisms, so this doesn't last very long. But like, oh, that was a shitty episode. That provided no value. No one's gonna like it. I'm not gonna put it out. And then I'm like, nope, I did it. It's going to go out. That's a raw, real, authentic me, whether I like it or not. And those are usually the episodes that I get the most feedback on, where people are like, this touched my soul. This changed the way I view things. Like, I even had someone from high school that reached out that said that how he thinks about things is completely changing, and thanking me for sharing just how I view certain stuff and ideologies that I have. And I thought that was incredible. And that he said he's becoming a lot more understanding and compassionate.
That is incredible. I'm so happy to hear that. And I want to talk to you and just say this to you. So absorb it just a little bit, okay? If there's any bit of imposter syndrome left in your mind that you are not a professional podcaster, you are a professional podcaster, and you're doing a fucking great job at it.
Oh my God. That almost brought tears to my eyes, because I still have a little bit, and like I have so much to learn. Like it's still such a janky podcast. So I am going to make a commitment moving forward that is how I refer to myself, that I am a professional podcaster.
You are. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're 52 episodes deep into your message. And it's an incredible message. And I know you're reaching people because you just told me you're reaching people. You reached me. And I love that. And that's incredible. So yes, you are a professional podcaster. You're doing incredible work. And you're helping people discover stuff about themselves. How much more professional can you be?
Yeah.
Except maybe being like $200 million in the bank and then, being depressed about it or something. I don't know. Apparently that's what makes you a professional. So
holy, that actually just, wow, the way you said that. Yeah. Why would I think that I'd have to be anyone else but what I'm doing? That is professional enough. That, wow, subconsciously I was comparing myself to someone like him, because technically he's a professional, but is that the kind of professional that I want to be? Fuck no.
Fuck no.
No.
Be happy with what you do.
Yeah.
Aaron and I have made almost no return on this podcast. But damn, we're professional podcasters. I love it. I fucking love it.
So I picked the thought back up because I dropped it back then because it wasn't the right time. It's the right time, so I picked it back up. So my follow-on question would be really just more of a realization that it's so hilarious how every episode and every thought you have that you're like, this is it. Someone will pick up the very next thought and be like, dude, this changed my fucking life. And you're like, bro, I wasn't even thinking about that. And then one thing that a thought I've been chewing through with you and our friend Melissa is the whole certs and degrees thing. I still feel like an imposter because I don't have shit after my name. I'm Aaron.
Mhm.
We're going to steal your disclaimer. Hopefully you can email it to us or something for the end of the episode, because we are lay people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a degree. I need to be adding a disclaimer to this shit. I don't know what I'm talking about. If you need help, call 988. Call 911 if you need help right fucking now. If you're in Canada, I think it's 999. I don't know. Might be 988.
I actually
Do you know what your
Like-
911 is?
Well, like the police is like 911, but if it's like a mental health line, I think it's 998. So
Okay, anyway.
you probably know that.
Just go to
slash
betterhelp.com.
NSLP.
Just go to betterhelp.com/NSLP, and you'll be able to be connected with a licensed therapist
Yeah.
like that.
Convenience your own home, all the other things they sent us to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually used that, and it was really great because honestly, I was at a point where I didn't want to get out of bed. It was great. I could have my therapy session in bed in my pajamas. It was
Yes.
wonderful.
But the second half of the thought that I worked through this morning with Melissa on the phone was, I said, what certs or degrees or, how do I get the respect of academia? And she went, well, you just have to join academia. You have to get a degree if you want people with degrees to listen to you. And I was like, damn, I don't want to do that. She was like, okay, what do you want to do? And I talked about the project we're starting and the direction we're headed and stuff. And she went, okay, cool. It sounds like you need to do that thing that you said you need to do because that's the part you want to play in all of this. And I was like, yeah, but I want those assholes to listen to me. And she was like, damn, that sounds hard. And I was like, damn, that sounds like co-regulation. Why the fuck is everyone doing the same shit who's actually getting better? Like, damn, I recognize that is very hard. I struggle with the same thing myself. I was like, shut up, Melissa. I love the hell out of you. So I'm not going to yell because I understand that's damaging, but I'm mad. She's like, shit, I get mad too, bro. I get mad a lot.
Aaron, you have certs that people out there in the world they don't
Firearms
have.
instructor.
Less than 1% of
Yeah.
Americans have it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But damn it, that is a cert. You're in the world
me
of
find my
academia.
binder.
So,
My certification button.
Aaron, if there's an ounce of imposter syndrome left in your brain,
Let me go find my bucket of
Same
bucket of
message.
trophies from Kung Fu. What certs do you want? I've got certs fucking everywhere.
I got it, dude.
What's
I
this?
got that shit. You have something after your name. It's
Aaron
Aaron
fucking Ash.
You're-
It's
you're
the middle
fucking
name is
done.
what matters.
Yes.
That's all that
Middle
fucking matters.
fucking name.
Aaron.
I love it. I love it so much. And you know what? Like, I think certifications and degrees are important. I don't think there's a generalization that I quite want to make, but the fact that sometimes, yeah, it is really important to have those, especially like a doctor. I'm not going to go to a doctor that doesn't have that. But there's times where you don't need it because honestly, I've been to so many counselors and therapists, and I can tell what ones have actual life experience and what ones are reading something out of a book that I've already read. And so there's certain things and that, you know what, I would rather someone have real life fucking experience and know what they're talking about because they have that lived experience than a degree behind their name and they've never ever had any sort of actual experience behind it.
And man, that's
Yeah.
a tough job. I don't feel bad that most therapists I've dealt with have just handed me the workbook. And I'm like, damn, that's not what I want. Because the other half of therapists I've dealt with have been like, hey man, I'm not going to give you any homework. I'm just here to listen. And I'm like, damn, I need something in between.
Yep.
Damn.
Become your own
I
therapist.
am. Fuck. Have you not been listening, Tim? I'm a professional podcaster.
Well, I was just about to open the floor. Alexa, if there is anything that you would like to talk about or any topics you want to touch on before we go ahead and throw in our closer, please
You do have time.
hit us with it.
Basically just reminding people you're not fucked. Your brain is running a program and it's time to learn a new program. You learned your way of life through the trauma and the addiction and the neglect and the abuse, and it's not that you're fucked. Your brain is working perfectly for the program of trauma, and it's time to learn that radical acceptance, that radical self-love, and transform the fuck out of your life. And it's not easy, and we have all vulnerably shared, we fuck up all the time. We have all done so much work, and we still fuck up, and it's okay. The point is not to be perfect. The point is to try again. It's basically all I want to say is keep trying.
You can rewire your brain. It is 100%
Absolutely.
possible.
It is. And that, oh, I love that you can rewire your brain. I've been obsessed with that since I was like 12. It's brilliant.
Definitely. Aaron, do you have anything that you would like to say? I'm opening the floor to
I've got
you.
a podcast. I have so many things to say, my man. Don't do that.
Man, that's incredible. Speaking of which, Alexa, you do have a podcast. We're going to have the links down in the show notes so everybody can go and listen. I highly recommend it. If you listen to our podcast and you enjoy what we talk about, go check out Alexa's because she is touching on some incredible things. She's going to make you cry, probably, most likely.
I'm good at that. But it's needed.
We're best fucking friends, so we're going to be back.
Oh, I love that. I would absolutely love to come on again. I want you guys on my podcast. I need more of you guys in my life. You guys' energy is
Chaotic
fucking amazing.
is what it is.
It feels so good to connect with. Yeah. I'm a chaos queen.
Yeah, we should do a Patreon show where it's just like the three of us just talking about shit.
Oh, just freaking
Yes.
out and like calling Ben and
Oh,
yelling
man.
about time and space and reality. Like,
Yeah.
That is my favorite.
Have you ever heard of Fordlandia and the bullshit behind that? Oh, man, I could talk about that forever. Anyway, your disclaimer, Alexa.
My disclaimer, I actually have it pre-recorded, so I don't have to say it every time because I just change it every time, but
shit, we'll pull up your podcast if you want me to do that. What's up?
Yeah, just pull up the podcast, Aaron. Just bring it up, man.
Quit being lazy.
Screen share
man.
that. We'll all listen to it together.
Yeah. I just thought you might have it written down somewhere. So I've got my podcast is for entertainment, doesn't constitute mental health professional advice. If you're suffering from a thing, talk to someone with a degree. And I spelled degree DGREE.
With all that being said, Alexa, thank you so much for joining us today.
And a huge thanks to each of you for listening.
This has been Aaron.
And Tim with
Alexa Fxcking Brehmer.
a huge thank you to
Huge
Hyland
thank you to
Markle
Hyland
for
Markle.
the original music.
Fucking chaos, man. Share this episode with someone who could benefit from it.
Let us know or email us.
To collab.
All pertinent links are going to be down below, like always. God,
Be good to yourselves and each other.
we love you. And you should too.
Peace out, Brussels sprouts.